Some moments linger, leaving a subtle imprint, like fleeting shadows that reveal themselves only when the light catches them just right. Never did I think I'd find myself in this moment, bare and vulnerable, revealing the depths of my heart. Yet life has a way of creeping in, whispering secrets you believed were buried forever. The moment started with a soft knock at my door, igniting a spark I never expected. It was a soft, hesitant knock, barely breaking the silence, yet it sent a shiver through her heart. I can still hear them, vivid and haunting, as if their knock on the door awakened a longing within me that I had tried so hard to bury. The kettle whistled softly, releasing the warm, comforting aroma of chamomile, while a sharp note of lemon lingered in the air, a reminder of the secrets hidden just beneath the surface. The sunset bled colors across the sky, orange and deep purple intertwining, whispering secrets as they slipped through the slats of my blinds. Loneliness wrapped around me like a familiar cloak, but it never felt quite right. Divorce reveals the bittersweet beauty of solitude, where silence becomes both a refuge and a reminder of what was lost. Then there he was, Thomas, my ex-husband's son, my stepson, but he had transformed into someone I barely recognized, stirring feelings I thought were long buried. He loomed above her, a figure of strength, his voice resonating with an intensity that stirred something deep within her. But those eyes? Those gentle, curious eyes still held the same innocence, the same need for comfort that once drew me to him when he came to me with scraped knees, back when I was his everything. Though he didn't come from me, my love for him was profound, as if he were a part of me woven into my very being. But that night, the way he gazed at me held a weight, as if an unspoken tension lingered in the air between us. He flashed a fleeting smile, his eyes holding a hint of mischief. "Hey, mind if I stay here for a while?" And just like that, everything I believed I had left behind, all the emotions I promised myself were gone, surged back like a wave I was unprepared to face. Oh, how I longed to say it was simple, that I opened the door, we spoke, and all was resolved in a gentle embrace of peace. But that would be a betrayal of my heart. The truth is, some doors, once you push them open, invite not just warmth but a rush of longing that feels both exhilarating and wrong. They slip through the cracks of your heart, stirring desires and feelings you promised yourself to forget. And once they're in, there's no turning back. 3 years have passed since that fateful knock shattered my world. It's been 2 years since Thomas slipped back into my world, igniting feelings I thought I had buried. Not a single day passes without me aching to understand what changed that night. Was it me, him, or the fragile connection that pulled us together? Or had the change always lingered, yearning for the perfect moment to reveal itself? If you've ever questioned your own feelings or found yourself teetering on the brink of a promise you swore you'd keep, then perhaps you'll understand the story I'm about to tell. Join Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where whispered secrets transform into stories that linger in the heart, too heavy to bear in solitude. What I'm about to share could stir feelings you've kept hidden, even from yourself. At 46, I found myself standing beside Christopher, while Thomas, just 8, looked up at us with wide eyes, his messy hair framing a face full of wonder and an insatiable need for love. In the beginning he held back, uncertainty shadowing his gaze as if my heart was a fragile secret he feared to share. But gradually, he let me in, and I gave him all my heart, not in fragments, not out of obligation, but as if he were my very own. For years we were bound together, flawed yet fiercely clinging to what we had. With Christopher frequently absent, lost in his late nights and distant travels, Thomas and I found solace in one another, a secret heartbeat in a home that often felt like it was teetering on the edge. I was the one slipping notes into his lunch, crafting our secret moments, waiting in the car as the rain fell, lost in thoughts of him. At just 10 years old he whispered "Mom" in his sleep, a fleeting moment that hung heavy in the air, as if he had ventured too close to a forbidden truth. But that word lingered in my soul, for deep down, I knew I was his mother, even if the world turned a blind eye to our bond. Then came the slow drift, a silence that wrapped itself around us, chilling the air and suffocating the warmth that once filled our hearts. Christopher and I let our smiles fade, our words dwindling into silence, until the sound of slamming doors echoed between us, leaving two strangers beneath the same roof. When the divorce was finalized, it felt like more than just a marriage had shattered. Years passed in secret moments, stolen glances, the delicate threads that bind two hearts in a world that says they shouldn't. Thomas moved in with his dad, and for what felt like an eternity, silence stretched between us. I held my distance, afraid to disrupt the fragile balance between us. Yet the longing throbbed within me, a wound that refused to heal. Suddenly my heart raced as my phone lit up with his name. He spoke in whispers, revealing only that he had left college behind. There was an unspoken weight in his words, a longing for refuge, but the details remained shrouded in mystery. In a heartbeat, I whispered for him to return to me. When he appeared at my doorstep, he was no longer the Thomas the first once knew. He stood there, a silhouette of temptation, the roughness of his stubble hinting at secrets untold, his voice wrapping around me like a forbidden melody. It wasn't merely his appearance. It was the way he moved through life, a silent burden resting on his shoulders, an unspoken heaviness that lingered in the air between us. His embrace surprised me, holding me closer than I anticipated, and in that fleeting moment, I felt a jolt, not love in the traditional sense, but something electric, as if two souls separated for far too long were desperately seeking a way back to each other. The silence in my house felt heavy, a weight of longing and solitude. Only the ticking clock accompanied me, a reminder of time slipping away, while my heart ached with unspoken desires. But now there was noise again. A second toothbrush in the bathroom, the rush of the shower each morning, the creak of the couch under the weight of someone else, stirring feelings that were both thrilling and forbidden. It should have felt like coming back to a secret place, where every heartbeat whispered of what could never be. But it never truly did, not entirely. It felt electric, a tension hanging in the air that we both felt but dared not acknowledge. It was a Saturday night, once filled with family dinners, laughter, and the sweet tension of playful arguments over the last slice of pie. But now it was just Thomas and me, two souls navigating the fragile space between us, pretending the years apart hadn't woven a distance that felt both familiar and foreign. He whispered the idea of a movie, something familiar, something we had shared countless times before. I can't remember the details, only that it wrapped around me like a secret, a way to escape the silence that threatened to swallow me whole. The room was shrouded in darkness, illuminated solely by the tender flicker of the TV casting shadows that danced across the walls. We perched on opposite ends of the couch, legs curled beneath us, a bowl of popcorn caught in the space between, a moment that felt both simple and dangerously charged. But then our fingers grazed against each other. Our fingers brushed, a spark igniting in that brief moment as we both reached for the same piece of popcorn. I froze, not from the sting, but from the way his fingers lingered just a moment too long, his gaze holding mine with an intensity that felt both thrilling and wrong. That look in his eyes held secrets, a depth that whispered of untold stories and uncharted feelings. It was more than just a fleeting look of gratitude from a young man seeking refuge. It held a deeper, unspoken connection that lingered in the air, electric and undeniable. It felt like a weight, sharp and intense, as if he was looking right through me, not as his stepmom, not as the woman who had shared a life with his father, but as someone real, as a woman in her own right. I laughed it off, playfully teasing him about how he always managed to grab the best pieces of popcorn. He smirked, a hint of mischief in his eyes, then turned back to the screen, as if the moment held no weight at all. But it was because I couldn't help but replay that look, that fleeting moment, over and over in my mind. And I began to see things I had overlooked, the way he reached for the sky when he rose, the gentle warmth in his voice as he whispered goodnight, the way his gaze would rest on me, not overtly, but with a quiet intensity, as if he were recalling a secret moment we had yet to share. That night I lay in bed, my heart racing as I stared at the ceiling, the gravity of what had just happened lingering in the air. My tea lingered cold and abandoned on the nightstand, while the silence in the room pulsed with an electric tension, thick with unvoiced desires. I couldn't shake the thought, was it all just a dream? Was my heart so aching that it conjured illusions of love that never existed? Or was there something genuine blossoming between us, something we couldn't quite define, sneaking in with every stolen glance, every shared breath, every unspoken thought that lingered in the air? After that night, the world continued its relentless march, yet within me, everything had shifted irrevocably. Thomas remained unchanged, never daring to cross that delicate line. He still kicked off his shoes by the front door, still sneaked sips of orange juice straight from the carton when he thought I wasn't watching, still left his damp towel crumpled on the bathroom floor, just like he did when we were young and reckless. Yet, an electric tension lingered in the air between us, quiet but impossible to ignore. I found myself drawn to moments I knew I shouldn't be, like the way he lingered in the kitchen after we had tidied up, staying long after the plates were tucked away. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, his gaze on me, intense yet gentle, as if I were a secret he longed to uncover, each silent second drawing us closer to something unspoken. He heard me, truly heard me, in a way I had nearly lost hope of ever experiencing again. When I spoke, he listened intently, his gaze never wavering, as if every word I said held a secret just for us. He would lean in, his eyes sparkling with curiosity, as he asked about my day, hanging on every word I spoke. Christopher would often scroll through his phone while I spoke, lost in his own world. But Thomas? He listened, his gaze lingering on me, as if every word I said held a secret just for him. He leaned in, heart racing, the air thick with unspoken words. He saw the details that others missed, like how that old navy sweater I wore to bed made my eyes shimmer with a hidden warmth, a secret only he seemed to recognize. I laughed it off, but his words haunted me, echoing in my thoughts throughout the day. I convinced myself his kindness was innocent, that my longing for warmth was merely a hunger for affection, a desperate need to escape the shadows that clung to me. When he whispered my name, it was soft and heavy, as if it held secrets, and in that moment my heart stumbled, and I began to transform in ways that felt both thrilling and unsettling. I reached for my lip gloss once more, a simple shade of soft pink that shimmered just enough to catch the eye. I began lighting candles at night, pretending it was just for the warmth, but inside, I felt the flicker of something deeper, something I shouldn't want. I found myself in the kitchen once more, crafting meals that filled the air with warmth and rich aromas, transforming the space into something vibrant and alive, even as uncertainty lingered about who would share in this feast with me. I stood before the mirror, captivated by the reflection that held my gaze a heartbeat longer. There she was, a woman in her early 60s, still feeling that familiar warmth rise in her cheeks when someone dared to hold her eyes just a moment too long. And the most heart-wrenching part? I loathed myself for the way my heart raced at his unexpected arrival, for the way my breath caught when I heard his footsteps echoing in the quiet of the night, for the way I let those feelings linger instead of pushing them away. I let it happen. I let the boundaries blur. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was a dangerous temptation, that this connection was too intense, too forbidden. I allowed it to hang in the stillness, in the unspoken doubts, in the lingering looks that stretched just a moment too far, in the weighty hush where words could have bridged the gap but remained unvoiced. On that warm, restless night, the sky hung in a delicate balance, torn between the fading light and the encroaching shadows. Sleep eluded me, so I stepped into the night, a delicate blanket draped over my shoulders, a glass of red wine cradled in my hand. The porch held its breath, the gentle creak of the wooden boards beneath my bare feet mingling with the distant, wistful chirping of crickets. I never expected him to be there, yet suddenly he was, silence hanging between us, a fleeting look, a subtle nod, and the soft sound of his glass meeting the table as he took his place next to me. We lingered in quiet, the night wrapping us in its embrace, as unspoken words hung heavy between us since his return. Then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper, revealing a deep ache of not belonging anywhere at all. He confided that his father had vanished from his life, no longer reaching out, no longer showing he cared, as if he had never existed at all. I stayed silent, allowing him to speak, honoring the space he had once offered me. Then I opened up, revealing how my divorce wasn't chaotic or dramatic, just a quiet chill, like a slow frost creeping into every corner of my heart until all warmth faded away. I shared with him the moments I'd spend across from Christopher at the dinner table, watching a man too absorbed in his phone to notice me. Months passed and I felt like a mere shadow in my own existence. Unseen, unneeded, unloved. The words stumbled from my lips, each one a fragile layer I hadn't known was still hidden within me. Then came a pause, heavy and thick, as if it were daring us to cross an unspoken line. His hand brushed against mine, a gentle touch that sent shivers through me, anchoring my racing heart. I knew I should have stepped back. I should have turned around and gone back in, but something held me there, caught in the moment where everything felt so wrong yet so right. I should have held on to the role I was meant to play in his life. His hand was warm, his eyes searching, and in that fleeting moment, I lost sight of the boundaries that had always anchored me, and it left me trembling. There I was, a woman starved for connection, longing for a touch that had eluded me for far too long, desperate to be noticed, to feel that intoxicating thrill of being chosen. Though it felt forbidden, though we both knew the risks, silence enveloped me. He felt the same way. But the way our fingers intertwined, the way the air thickened with unspoken words, we both sensed a shift, a feeling that was now ours to bear, one we couldn't ignore. As he drew nearer, my heart raced, and I let him come. His proximity ignited a spark within me. A whisper of the past, perhaps, or a sensation I believed had faded, lingering, cautious, yet powerful enough to take my breath away. In that brief, electric instant, I surrendered to the pull between us. His hand grazed my cheek, tender and cautious, as if I were made of glass, ready to break at any moment. But I held back, not in that moment. My heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of confusion, wondering what he saw in me that I couldn't yet grasp. It was raw and electric, a fleeting connection that felt both thrilling and wrong. It was a whirlwind of longing and nostalgia, a delicate dance between two souls lost in the quiet, each struggling to break free yet drawn together in the shadows of what could never be. I lingered for a moment longer, reluctant to let go. As guilt washed over me, a fierce and undeniable ache, I turned my head and whispered, "I can't do this." He remained silent, his gaze locked on mine, lips slightly parted as if he were searching for words to articulate a feeling that eluded him. I rose, stepped inside, and gently closed the door, creating a fragile barrier between us. I rushed into the bathroom, flipped on the light, and gazed at my reflection, heart racing with unspoken feelings. The lingering touch of what I had allowed haunted my skin, a thrilling fear that gripped my heart, leaving me breathless and trembling. I grabbed a towel, soaked it in hot water, and pressed it against my lips, trying to erase the taste of what should never have happened, longing for it to vanish into nothingness. Yet it was undeniable, far too intense. And the most painful part? It was a storm of longing and regret, a bittersweet ache that refused to fade. There was a yearning, raw and desperate, not rooted in love or logic, but forged from endless nights of solitude, overlooked and trapped beneath a life that felt like a stranger. I stood there, gazing into the mirror, and for the first time the woman staring back felt like a stranger to me. She was the one who strayed, the one who felt the thrill of the forbidden, the one who dared to follow her heart. No, she was someone who had crossed a boundary she had helped create, and then blurred when no one was watching. Sleep eluded me that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart racing, warmth flooding my skin, each breath echoing in the silence. I sensed he was awake too, the weight of the silence pressing against the wall, a haunting reminder of a moment that was never meant to be, yet somehow unfolded between us. From that moment on, even in silence, everything between us shifted forever. The next morning, silence hung between us, heavy and unspoken. He poured his coffee and I spread the butter on the toast, our fingers brushing just for a moment, igniting a spark that felt both thrilling and wrong. The clatter of forks and knives echoed, a stark contrast to the unspoken tension that hung in the air. I forced a smile, pretending everything was fine, and asked softly if he had slept well. He whispered a quiet agreement, his gaze fixed on the plate before him, and the moment hung heavy between them. The silence that enveloped us felt suffocating, a weight pressing down, as if we were lost in a haze, struggling to find our way back to each other. He began to drift away, avoiding the spaces we once shared, slipping on earbuds as if to drown out the silence between us, choosing the outside world over the warmth of our home. I convinced myself he just needed time. Yet inside, I felt the distance growing from a connection we had only begun to explore. 2 weeks later he returned with her, a secret wrapped in longing. Her laughter reached me like a whisper, vibrant and teasing, a melody that stung with the knowledge it was never meant for my ears. He stepped into the kitchen, her presence a soft whisper behind him, vibrant and radiant, exuding a confidence that felt both intoxicating and dangerous. Her name slipped from her lips like a secret, Margaret. He shrugged, labeled her a friend, as if it meant nothing, as if I meant nothing. I masked my true feelings with a smile, calling her sweet, offering a drink, pretending to be the composed woman everyone expected me to be. As soon as they stepped out, I hurried into the bathroom, locked the door and turned on the tap. Tears fell silently, not in loud sobs but in quiet despair, muffled by towels and drowned by the rushing water, concealed in my trembling hands. I clenched my sleeve between my teeth, desperate to hold back the surge of feelings that threatened to spill over. What right did I have to feel this way? What did I truly mean to him? She was no longer a lover, no longer a stepmom, not even someone deserving of an explanation from him. A moment that defied reason, one I longed to erase, a brief encounter he likely yearned to undo. Yet the ache lingered, a sharp pang of jealousy, her mere presence striking my heart like a forbidden whisper, one I had kept hidden for so long. I felt a surge of emotions, a desperate need to scream, to understand why he had brought her into our space, why his gaze lingered on her with the same warmth he once reserved for me. But I remained silent, knowing that any words I spoke would shatter the delicate illusion we were desperately trying to hold together in the stillness. The nights became my greatest struggle, not for their silence, but for the way they stripped away my refuge. I'd lie there staring at the ceiling and questions would seep in, gentle at first, then crashing over me like waves in a room where escape felt impossible. Could I really be the villain in this story? Did I betray the trust of someone who believed in me? Or was I simply yearning for a spark to ignite my heart once more? Would it have unfolded if I hadn't felt so isolated? If Christopher hadn't slowly drained the life from me until I became a mere shadow of myself? All I felt was the ache, the guilt, and the haunting memory of a kiss that should have never happened, wrapped in the heavy silence that lingered afterward. I began to write, not to keep it close but to escape its grasp. In my hands an old notebook, its cover frayed and faded, whispers secrets of forgotten moments, grocery lists and old passwords, remnants of a life once shared, now tinged with longing. Now every line whispered my secrets, feelings too intense to voice, questions that lingered in the shadows, waiting for a response that would never come. I poured my heart onto the page, each word a whisper of longing, as tears mingled with the ink, a secret I could no longer hide. It turned into a refuge for the questions I dared not speak. Did he truly mean it? Is it possible to return to that moment, when everything felt perfect, innocent and unblemished? Did we break something beautiful the instant our lips touched? One night as I rummaged through the cluttered junk drawer, the kind every home hides away, filled with forgotten batteries and stray keys, I stumbled upon it. A delicate, creased piece of paper, its edges worn and whispering secrets of the past. It was a note from Thomas, penned when he was just a child, filled with the innocence of a heart that knew nothing of the world's complexities. His shaky handwriting whispered a truth too tender to ignore. Thank you for being my real mom. No barriers, just raw honesty, pure and unfiltered. I gazed at it, my heart racing, lost in a moment that felt both thrilling and wrong. That note once ignited a fire in my heart. Now it pierced like a blade. What happened to him? Or was it I who moved first? Perhaps we both stepped over a boundary we had drawn in the sand, only to wipe it away when no one was there to see. Perhaps in the shadows, solitude and desire intertwined, creating a bittersweet ache. Perhaps it was the longing to be desired, to feel vibrant and special, but not like this, not at the expense of the boy who once held my heart. The house was too quiet now, a silence that wrapped around me like a secret, amplifying the sound of my own heartbeat, echoing the unspoken feelings that lingered in the air. The evenings were my favorite, watching Thomas stretch out on the couch, his long limbs awkwardly claiming the space. He would share snippets of his day, his voice trembling with a mix of joy and innocence, whether it was about a new game or a silly joke that made him laugh. I'd listen, my mind wandering as I stirred pasta or folded laundry, unaware that those fleeting moments were slipping away like water through my fingers. Now the couch was empty, the kitchen silent, and I was left with this ache, this haunting question. When did I stop being enough for him? I folded the note and slipped it into my pocket, hoping that holding it near would somehow anchor me to the memories of us. Those moments filled with laughter and the playful battles over the last slice of pizza. But the truth weighed more than the fragile paper it was written on. It was a series of stolen glances, lingering touches, and a choice that felt both thrilling and wrong. It was a delicate unraveling, a thread fraying over time, filled with stolen glances and unvoiced pain. There were moments when I'd gaze at him and feel the weight of a stranger's eyes upon me. Did my love burn too bright? Or was it merely a whisper in the shadows? Did I show him how to protect his heart? Or did he pick it up just by being near me? I sat at the kitchen table, the very spot where our laughter once danced in the air, where he'd spilled juice and wept, not for the mess but for fear of my anger. I couldn't be. I never was. But now, I questioned if his fear was justified, not of my anger, but of the imperfections I had tried so hard to hide. They were the ones who allowed me to step over that boundary, who made me feel, if only for a heartbeat, that longing could change everything about our connection. The street lamp outside flickered, its light dancing through the window, weaving shadows that whispered secrets of longing. I ran my finger along the table's surface, lost in memories of Thomas, his crayon drawings a bittersweet reminder. I had scolded him softly, fully aware that those marks would linger, a testament to moments we could never reclaim. They lingered, whispers of a past when love was pure, unburdened by the shadows of what could never be. I longed to reach out, to hear his voice again, to know if he still saw me as his true mother, or if that connection had slipped away, like the colors of a crayon on a forgotten note. Yet my phone remained silent, my bravery as fragile as the paper tucked away in my pocket. Perhaps this was the cost of being alive. Yearning for the unattainable, cherishing what slips through your fingers, and pouring it all onto the page, hoping the ink could bind the fragments of your heart. With a shaky hand I grasped the pen once more and wrote, Thomas, I'm so sorry. I can't tell if I shattered what we had, or if we were destined to fall apart. The ink blurred, yet I kept writing. I just couldn't. Not just yet. Have you ever opened your heart to something, not for its worth, but because the ache of loneliness was too much to bear? Have you ever dared to open a door you promised yourself would remain shut, just to catch a glimpse of warmth, to feel embraced, even if only for a heartbeat? I'm torn inside, questioning if my choices reveal a darker side of me. I wonder if it reveals my vulnerability. All I know is that one night, I shed the woman I thought I was and transformed into someone unrecognizable, lost in the thrill of the moment. Did I make a mistake by allowing this to unfold? Was I merely a woman desperate to reclaim the spark of life, to feel the warmth of desire, to avoid slipping into the shadows? Perhaps you've sensed it as well, not in the same manner, but maybe you've found yourself at a precipice, caught between the person you're expected to be and the one who emerges when the world fades away. Share your whispers in the comments, your hidden tales, your longings, your secrets. I devoured each one, heart racing with every word. No judgment, just raw honesty, no shame, only a deep connection. Some betrayals begin in the shadows, where desire lingers unspoken. They blossom from the pain of solitude, from gazing at an unoccupied chair at the dinner table, from unspoken questions lingering in silence, from the echo of my own breaths reverberating in a house too quiet to bear. They grow quietly, unnoticed, as the pain lingers beneath my smile. The warmth that once embraced me has turned to a cold shadow, and I find myself searching desperately for a flicker of hope to ignite my heart once more. Sometimes it's the love I can't have that shatters me. In the stillness that follows, we pretend it never occurred, burying it deep within. The weight of unspoken words lingers, a haunting reminder of what could have blossomed if only someone had paused to check on my heart. Yet no one dared. Here I stand, caught in a tale I never intended to weave, a burden I bear in silence. Some truths linger in the shadows, yearning for a heart to hear them, not for absolution, but for understanding.